Join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. Suki, you up first?
I was going to introduce our presentation.
Let's go
Are
ahead.
you okay with that? Yeah. Great. We have with us today Jeremy Baldwin from Enterprise. We've been talking to Enterprise Fleet Management Group for, I want to say a year, guys, probably. And what we have worked with them is we've provided them information related to our fleet and our maintenance cost. They have reviewed that and analyzed it and determined that a better way for us to go with the county money is maybe to lease vehicles, at least certain types of vehicles, for a lower overall cost per mile. And Jeremy will get into that, but I brought him in today because we've got some agreements that'll be presented to you next session maybe, or the session after, to potentially start this in a demo mode with a couple departments and see how it goes. But with that, I'll go ahead and let Jeremy show you what he's determined for us.
So, Jeremy Baldwin with Enterprise Fleet Management. This is Ryan Winkles. We work hand in hand. We're a division of the rental car company, and we work primarily with commercial and government entities and help lower that total cost of ownership. Everything from acquiring a vehicle, operation, fuel, through the resale value. As a company, we have 1.6 million vehicles running around. So we have, everything dialed in, and essentially we're taking Clermont County's fleet, plugging it into our infrastructure, how we do things, for a way to really drive down your costs, which we'll get into. Let's see here. There we go. Here's some of the government customers in Ohio that we deal with. We have around 20 or 25. We've been doing business in the government realm for about 7 or 8 years. Around the country, we have a little over 800 clients in the government industry, and it's reason it makes sense is because you drive so little miles, you get great incentives that you can buy these vehicles and sell them at 5 years for a little less than what you paid for the vehicles. So you really tap into how well you buy, how well we sell and operate for really a long-term cost savings. So the areas that we can help with, our goal is to essentially help you acquire the vehicles, but we can, based off everything we have a whole bunch of areas that we can help you drive down the costs, improve efficiencies, everything from fuel, maintenance, insurance, driver safety programs, resale, all aftermarket. They're your vehicles. We're just coordinating that whole process for you. I see a gentleman from the sheriff's here, sheriff upfits $12,000, $13,000. We coordinate that, department engineers, you do a whole bunch of service bodies or dump trucks. We do those all the time for our commercial clients. So they're your vehicles, we're just coordinating everything. So lettering, upfit, it's all yours. So when you pick up that vehicle or we bring it to you, it's road ready to go. That's the whole process, turnkey for us to eliminate your staff from dealing with that in each department.
I may not have heard that correctly. You're putting the decals on and all that stuff for us?
Anything that you guys outsource, yes. So you use another company to do that, we'll coordinate with that company and they'll put them on. So when you pick up these vehicles or we drop them off, they are ready to go for you.
Okay.
Essentially how we work is, we're not just a dealer. We're not just going to get you vehicles and see you in a certain amount of time frame. You're partnered. We're a long-term partner. We meet with our clients 2 to 4 times out of the year because we want to be a long-term consultant. So you get myself, who's the account executive, I find new business. Then you get account manager Joe, who wasn't able to make it today, account fleet coordinator, fleet strategy manager. There's a team of us who are working diligently on your account to really keep your costs as low as possible. So the reason we meet with you and each department is to see what's going on with the budget. Are the vehicles being utilized? Is it the right vehicle for the job? What can we do? And we forecast 6, 12, 18 months out on a rolling average to really keep those costs in line. So it's not, again, it's long-term partnerships is what we're looking for.
Yeah, in my role, so my name is Ryan Winkles, I'm our sales manager. So I oversee, we have 3 other Jeremys in our office that just bring on new business. And then we want to have a dedicated account management team to just make sure we're providing proactive recommendations for the fleet. Jeremy mentioned they're going to meet with you 3 to 4 times a year with each department and just bring recommendations to the table. So I oversee both Jeremy's team and our account management team. And Joe would be the account manager, and we do cap our account managers at a certain amount of accounts and fleet potential, just so that they are a part of, Clermont County. We look at it as your fleet department for the vehicles you want to outsource with us.
What to expect first year is the fleet planning stage is really where we've been for the last 12 months or so, working hand in hand, looking at analysis, coming back, going forward. Account implementation, that means meeting with the departments, talking, introducing who we are, and talking to them, explaining expectations, understanding what you guys expect of us, what we expect of you, how can we make this a really long-term program successful. Driver rollout and training, explain fuel programs, maintenance programs, how getting the vehicles is going to work. And then every year we're going to do what's called an annual client review / savings analysis. So we're going to look over year-over-year cost, what's going on, areas of opportunity, different makes and models, what's going to be the best cost per mile for the next model year going forward. And again, looking at, are we right sizing, right typing that fleet? You get a lot of people who say, I need a 3/4 ton truck, just because Joe likes a 3/4 ton truck. That doesn't mean he needs one. So we ask those questions. Do you need these vehicles? Is it the right vehicle for the right job? So we want to make sure the dollars you are spending are specific for that tool that vehicle is being used for. So you don't overpay for a vehicle that you don't need. How it really works is, Suki mentioned leasing, and generally when everyone says lease, they're like, oh my gosh, I have a horror story from being leased. I went to a dealer, or my brother did, or my dad did, and got, run through the coals when I turned in the vehicle. The types of lease that we're doing is called an open-ended lease. There's no miles restrictions, there's no wear and tear penalties. A lot of entities call it a municipal lease or market value lease or market value finance. It's essentially paying for what you use. Construction companies do this for large pieces of equipment. A lot of people do this with computer-style equipment or copiers. They know at a certain amount of time it's worth this, and they just pay that depreciation. That's essentially the scenario that we're doing here. The reason it's completely flexible is you can get in and out of this vehicle at any time. So 12 months in, you could turn in this vehicle if it's not the right vehicle for the top job. If it's an undercover vehicle and it gets burned, you can just turn it in. We'll get you a new one. If you want to keep that vehicle longer at the end of the term, you can. It's completely flexible. It's an ownership style lease. It's Clermont County's vehicle. We're just helping coordinate it and coming up with a good financing structure for it.
When you said burned, you meant on fire, or you meant found out?
Found out.
Okay.
Found out. Yes.
Discovered.
Yeah, not
Discovered. I got it.
discovered. We'll go with
Okay.
discovered. Yes.
Those catalytic converters do fire sometimes.
And
Just a clarification.
a
Yeah.
big entry into the government space came in the undercover world. So we have done the FBI's undercover fleet for quite some time. I come from Minnesota originally. The Minneapolis city, Hennepin County, they've leased their undercover fleet for years. So that was our initial entry point, just because those types of officers don't want vehicles that look like cop cars, which is what are on the state contracts. So we're able to lease anything from a Dodge Caravan to a Toyota Camry to anything you guys want.
Mhm.
So that's been our big entry point into the government space, was through the undercover.
Yeah. So with what that looks like, and we'll jump into essentially, so big picture, we'll just do it, and I'll take a scenario. So the 2018 Fusion costs about $18,000. You guys drive on average, we'll say 10,000 miles. 5 years, 50,000 miles from now, that vehicle is going to be worth $11,000 or $12,000. So how the lease works is we'll take that 18, finance it down to about 8,000, build in a little buffer. So you'll pay $10,000 for that vehicle over a 5-year time frame. When we sell that vehicle for 11, 12, whatever it may be, that gain on resale, that difference, is yours to help offset the future costs going forward. So you're building equity into your fleet to help offset future costs. The other reason we build equity into if you go way over mileage, or you come back with a burned vehicle maybe, and instead of taking the hit to your insurance, you take a loss on that vehicle, and it helps offset it a little bit, like an actual on-fire vehicle. So how that works is right here. So we profiled out Clermont County's fleet. There was 257 vehicles, everything that was 1 ton and smaller. 257. Average age is 8.9, and your average miles is about 9,600. So what this tells us is that every vehicle that you have brand new, you have one that's 18, 19, 20 years old. If you read any industry publications, about 5 to 7 years is the right time to cycle a vehicle. It's just coming up with the capital to get on that good cycle. And that's where that open-ended lease makes a lot of sense. So what we do is look at, hey, you give us this fleet, how are we going to implement this program? And so we just do this high level. First year, we're going to replace any vehicle that's over 10 years old or over 100,000 miles. As a county, you have over 131 vehicles that are over 10 years old or over 100,000 miles. Essentially a really old fleet, which is about 60% of your vehicles at that point, or almost 60%. And you're really just putting good money after bad in the maintenance and fuel sector. So we take this over 5 years. Next year we're doing everything that's over 8 years, so over 93,000 miles, 25, 20, 26, 41, and then we identified 14 underutilized vehicles. That's vehicles driving less than 2,000 miles a year. The reason you have so many is because your fleet's so old that those underutilized are spares for when your regular vehicles go down. So those are vehicles, once you get on a good healthy life cycle, you shouldn't need spares anymore because you have brand new vehicles that chances of a big repair going in 5 years, 50,000 miles are very slim. So those are some, again, right sizing the fleet, reducing some vehicles here. So once we take that, we throw it into what we call our 10-year model. The next PDF. So what we do is that we profiled out what does this look like over 10 years. So we want to show you a long-term plan of what is that savings. So the yellow highlighted line is what your county's consistently doing, buying about 15.5 vehicles per year. Based off those types, it's costing you around $360,000. Maintenance, based off information, is about $385,500 a year. Your age of your fleet, about 10 miles per gallon average, about $543,000 for a total fleet budget of $1.2, $1.3 million per year if we round up. So if you go to that lease or the lease column, you see first year. I'm going to mosey over here and point out that everybody's staring. We're going to lease, doing an open-ended lease, 131 vehicles for a cost of $567,000. Well, that's not even double what it costs to get, 15 vehicles. So that's where the open-ended lease makes sense because you're paying for what you use. So you make small monthly payments over a 5-year time frame. It allows you to use your capital to get even further. We're going to significantly lower your operational expense because now you're getting into that preventive maintenance world. Oil changes, a couple oil changes a year, maybe a tire rotation. That's about it. You're getting rid of those big ticket repairs. And we're going to get rid of your 10-year-old Dodge Stratus or Dodge Intrepid that's getting 12 miles per gallon. We're going to get you a brand new vehicle that's getting around 30. So essentially almost triple the fuel economy. So you're going to see fuel savings for a total net cash savings of about $50,000 in the first year. So as we continue down, you're going to see that lease costs go up because we're adding more vehicles to the program. You're going to see your maintenance costs decrease and essentially become fixed because you're just living in a preventive maintenance world. You can fix the cost of maintenance over time. Your fuel cost is going to go down because you're always living in the best of the best fuel economy. By 2025, everything that's half ton and smaller in size has to be at an average of 54 miles per gallon. So you're always going to be picking up better fuel economy every 5 years. So as we look at savings over the long run, we're going to save the county about $945,000 over a 10-year period.
Touch on like fleet activity.
So you're going to look, the big thing you're going to see is 2021. As you guys are looking at that number, why does it drop down to $245,000 or 254. So how the program works is that 131 vehicles, we're building up that equity that I alluded to before, that couple grand per vehicle. We're dumping that back into, instead of being, the way our system's made, we have to put it in 1 year versus spread it out. That equity from 131 vehicles is going to essentially dump into 1 year. So that's why that cost is so much lower. So you're building equity every year into your fleet. So as you add more vehicles, the cost, it just goes into 1 year, and that's how you see the big savings. And that's why that's much lower for that year. You'll see it again in 2026, essentially the exact same thing again. So it's, the reason we show 10 years is long-term sustainable cycle. These numbers were shown also when we did this without factoring any equity on your current fleet. And yeah, what you guys are about to sell, 100 vehicles, really old ones at this point.
The annual maintenance costs, so currently based on your chart, we're paying $385,000 a year, and that's going to go down to a fixed rate of $88,000 because you're going to take care of oil changes, tires, everything.
Yeah.
And where's your location, or would
you
you?
go any shop you want to get maintenance done.
So you wouldn't be on site. We would go to
the
you.
drivers as they're driving around go to Valvoline, Jiffy Lube, one of those.
Oh, okay. So you're not doing it. You're outsourcing.
No,
it.
yeah, we outsource.
Okay.
We find that we don't have our own shops as a rental company. It's just we can outsource it, and there's shops that are just better equipped with their labor hours and everything for it. So we use all local shops.
But the information related to that maintenance is all maintained in one place that
Yes.
we have access to.
It all flows into our website.
Doesn't matter if they go, as long as, you know, we still have record that they got an oil change.
Yep.
Yeah, it changes a little bit of the operational impact, which is why we want to do it on a test basis, with a couple departments as opposed to, I mean, yeah, ideally, to get the fleet up to speed, we get rid of 131 vehicles, but that's not what we're going to propose when we start this. We're going to propose just a couple different departments to see how it works, because we want to get used to the information that's available, access, you know, finding the locations, making sure our people can get in and get out of there in a reasonable amount of time.
So Suki, or is it Brian? I'm sorry.
Jerry.
No, Jerry. Sorry, Jeremy. So the maintenance cost of $385,000. Is that just like what we're paying now for oil changes and tires, or is that actually our employees that actually do the fleet maintenance work?
That actually includes the employee cost, because that includes whatever our labor is that the guys are doing. So it's oil changes, tires,
Yep.
it's repair work, it's
But we've got.
But realistically, that cost is not going to go down this drastically, because the only thing you're going to save on that are the actual materials that you use in maintenance, unless, let's just say it frank, unless the employees that currently do that work go home. Because if nobody goes home, there's no maintenance cost saved here.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep, you're right on. Now, one of the departments we're talking about using as a test department is building inspection, and I know Carl already does some of his work outside, so, you know, it's not gonna have a big impact on the fleet operation as far as losing business. DJFS, I believe, still brings their vehicles to fleet, so that would be the other one. That one will have some of an impact.
And I just mean, if those employees are still highly employed, and I would think that they are, in maintaining other things that they maintain here, like heavy equipment and bus structures and things that they do, this chart really should only reflect the savings in materials that are used on the maintenance of those vehicles, not the actual charge, because the charges are the charges. It really doesn't matter if our people are doing the work and are charging for it, or it's being outsourced and someone's being paid to do it. It's the same.
So you're saying, what you're proposing or saying is that we may or may not have to lose those employees? We may have to keep
Yeah, what
them?
I'm saying right now is I don't think, unless somebody knows something different than me, they're not employed just to maintain these vehicles. They maintain other things, right?
And it's hard to eliminate half a person.
Right.
However, the other things they're doing, even the engineer's trucks, you're saying even those would be replaced as well. Everything's going to be replaced, so
Mhm.
they wouldn't be here to maintain anything at that point, right?
Yeah, so what we find when you get into the topic of employees and maintenance shop is okay, you're still gonna need maintenance employees to work on first responder vehicles. Generally, your police cruisers, you're gonna want that versus outsourcing. Your big plow trucks, your big snow plow trucks, ambulances, that sort of thing. So what we find is that generally they'll repurpose a person or they lose them through attrition, because it's not an all initial attrition. Someone retires, you just don't replace them, right? So that's what we typically find, because it's a slow process of implementing in, and you're still going to have other things, other pieces of equipment. Not just vehicles, but you have mowers and stuff to work on too. I mean, those people are going to be there. I actually believe this was just maintenance, it was just parts only, not including labor from the information that you gave. So my understanding, I believe it did not include labor into this part.
But the initial, the $385,500 does include labor.
I don't believe it does.
Okay?
Suki, can
I'll
you?
confirm that,
Yeah.
but the numbers that I originally gave you did, is whether you used the labor portion or not in it.
I'm pretty confident we did not, because usually a fleet this aged, the maintenance is around like $200 to $250 per month, where we use 125. We can definitely confirm.
And Jeremy was right on the issue with our fleet operation and our employees. Yes, we were not gonna do the sheriff, and we were not gonna do CTC, which requires the most direct time. But we also have 2/3 of those employees that are eligible for retirement. So we have to look out into the future on a way, and this is one option on how to deal with the fleet is any of those guys attrit out. Because if they do, we either have to decide to replace them or we change the way we're handling the fleet.
Okay. And then the equity that you talked about in these vehicles, explain that equity, how it's gained.
So so we'll take that Fusion. It's $18,000. So we'll write the lease down to $8,000. So you're going to pay $10,000 for that vehicle. It's going to sell for, we'll say, $11,000. So you're essentially building up $3,000 of equity in that 5-year period. So when we sell that vehicle for the 11, that $3,000 you can use to offset the future as a trade-in value, offset the future increase of that vehicle. Vehicles go up about 2% per year in price.
And if you look at this entire analysis, the bottom section, that's your current equity. So if you did replace the 130, there'd be 134 vehicles to sell. We could take that equity and roll it into the new vehicles, which is what we've proposed for like DJ, Department of Family Services, is let's sell the current vehicle, roll it in, your lease payments are gonna come down quicker. So you'll actually experience that in round one on the vehicles you're gonna replace. You're already gonna have equity into them, and we're gonna build it up again for the flip. So it's a sustainable plan.
And Suki, just as a general question, when we buy vehicles, we're doing it through a bid process, and we're buying them through a dealer at commercial.
We use state bid contracts.
Okay.
Or we'll use national bid contracts. We use both of those. We don't do our own request for quotes. And the dealer that we use on the state is whoever they've selected.
Okay.
Most of the time, there are some vehicles that are purchased by other elected officials. They'll go to a local dealer, which is fine as long as they're getting the same vehicle that's on a state bid for equal or less than.
And are we able to tap into the GSA network for vehicle purchase?
Not specifically for vehicles under GSA.
Okay.
But if it's a GSA cooperative, and I haven't seen it for vehicles yet, you can.
Okay.
But we have used some besides the state for vehicle purchases, especially
Okay.
buses.
Okay, thanks.
So what we do to make sure that we're getting the best incentives for the county is we go to all the manufacturers. So let's say you're going to replace 30 vehicles. We build up in our request for proposal. We put in all the manufacturers, all the types of vehicles, and we pin them against each other. So in Ohio, GM just won the truck state contract, right?
2017 they did, yeah.
So we send in. We say, hey, Clermont County wants to order possibly 30 vehicles, and they all send us incentives. So if GM wins the state contract, Ford and Chrysler know that, for example, they're not going to get as many trucks as they expected. So typically they get more money afterwards than they would have to the state contract. So it's a lot of times we're able to get you better incentives through this process than you can on the state contract.
That's what we do, part of that fleet analysis meeting. That's why we meet, is because we look at every model year, and just because you got Fords this year doesn't mean you should get Fords next year. We break every vehicle down to cost per mile and say, hey, here's what it is. What do you want to do? What do your departments want to? Which vehicle do you want to get? So that way you can see the lowest cost per mile for that class, and because again, that's ultimately lowering it down. And then I'll jump into the last couple slides here. So we talked a little about maintenance. So we don't have our own shops like we alluded to. We outsource to all local shops. It's just better that way. Dealerships, national chains, regional chains. We have a brand new mobile app to answer any questions that your drivers will be able to, wherever they are, they can open it up, click on it. It's going to tell them the closest maintenance facility. They just go in and get maintenance done. Just show them the cards on the app or in the vehicle. Just show them that, and the shop takes care of everything. We pay the shop, and everything comes right into our system. Very simple, streamlined process. We have in our national service department, we have actually over 150 ASC certified mechanics, guys who were turning wrenches, got a little older, wanted to still be in that facility. So they maintain and just make sure everything's done. They're proactive, so if you go in for an oil change, just say, hey, in the next 500 miles, this is going to be due. They're going to say, hey, go ahead and get that service done. Help eliminate that downtime or revisit to the shop. Post-warranty goodwill, outside of warranty, we go back to the manufacturers and say, hey, this repair shouldn't have happened. We've been tracking, monitoring maintenance. How much are you going to cover of it? So in 2015, we gave 1.7. 2016, we gave about 2.4 million back to our customers. So that's just money we get back and bring back to the county, because all of it is really just coming to drive down your cost that you're spending on your fleet. We got a fuel program as well. For any facilities that need to go elsewhere, this is something that we just offer. So if you're traveling all over the state or into other states, this allows you to track the fuel per vehicle. So it's vehicle specific, because that's what we ultimately want to do, is track everything per vehicle so we can help drive down that cost per mile. You can go to any gas station you want. Everyone has their own PIN number, and it just follows it. All this information feeds into our system, so then we can send better maintenance reminders to your team as well. So we send out proactive reminders, hey, it's time for maintenance this month, so that way people get that done versus your internal departments trying to figure that out. Vehicle disposal, this is a really big key. We sell over 1 million vehicles a year. We have locally in just Cincinnati, we have about 7 people who all they do is hand sell our rental vehicles and our customers' fleet vehicles. So it's a bid process for selling vehicles, and it's really the top bidder out there. As a company, we average 7.5–8% over Black Book. Locally, we're 11% over Black Book for money back for our customers. So again, comparing that to auction, that's an extra $1,000 back for our customers on how well we sell vehicles.
And Black Book is the commercial index, similar to like a Kelley Blue Book is for retail.
Mm-hmm. And this is a small picture of our website. So every department can have their own vehicles loaded in that they can log in and see exactly what's going on with their entire fleet that we've acquired for you, and fleet that is their existing. So we will load up all your vehicles into this system by department, so that way they can see everything. So it's having 2 separate programs. It's all in one spot. All the data is updated within 24-hour real time. You can see maintenance reminders past due. If there's a if there's a recall or any alerts going on, it's in the top little red corner. So it's all right here at your fingertips. Big objections, like to talk about this: leasing, control, maintenance, and resale. Those are the really big piece. Again, this is not the dealership style lease that a lot of people are used to. This is completely flexible, market value or open-ended lease. So you pay for what you use. We know these vehicles are going to come back with crack in the windshield, stains on the inside, dents and dings on the outside. It's what we do day in, day out, how we sell these vehicles. A lot of commercial companies with trucks and dump trucks and stuff, that's a lot of our client, about 70% of our customers are in the commercial industry, so we know how beat up vehicles get. We sell around that. People who are buying them can fix all that stuff in-house. Control, we can't do anything without your say-so. Our job is to gather all that data, bring it to you, and you just tell us what you guys want to do and how you want to go. Maintenance, again, any shop you want to go to. We recommend national chains, regional chains, and dealerships just for warranty items, as in you go to Jiffy Lube here and they forget to go put an oil cap on, and you're, downtown Cincinnati, and you notice something's going on, you go to the Jiffy Lube, they're going to just easily take care of it versus having to come back to Bob's Garage. Not saying you can't go to Bob's Garage, just less downtime in that scenario. And resale, we are the largest company in the world selling vehicles, so a lot of disbelief on how well we do it, but as a company, our employees are trained to ask for an extra $100 on every vehicle that we sell, because if you ask for that and you get it, we sell 1 million vehicles a year, that's an extra lot of money that we get for our clients. So it's all about driving down your costs. That's implementation, kind of really walking through. We do this, meet with your individual departments. Once the vehicles come in, start talking to them. Here's how the vehicle's upfitting, and then after you take hold of the vehicles, meet a few months later, just make sure everything's going, and then start that 3 to 5 or 2 to 4 meetings per year. What questions do you all have?
How do we pay? How do you charge for your service?
It's a monthly bill.
Okay, and that monthly bill is based on usage?
So it's monthly lease payments. So we'll
Okay.
identify, let's say you're gonna order 20 vehicles. They'll deliver. A month later, you'll have your first invoice that'll have your monthly lease payments on it. And that's essentially it.
Fixed for the term
Yep.
of that vehicle.
Yeah.
So, what,
In what's an average monthly lease payment? I mean, we
we can provide
it's
the.
gonna depend on
yeah.
the vehicle.
Right.
So they had done one, I wanna say one was like $200 or something.
Yeah, again, it's just very specific. A sedan's going to be between 200 and 300. A pickup's going to be 300,
Okay.
400 or so, depending on types, options, all that stuff.
This is a chart here. It
Yeah.
says the fleet budget. This is what we'd actually would be spending annually. Let's say you could break that out by 12 months, and that would be what we're doing. So about $100,000 a month is what we're looking at.
Currently, yeah.
All in with, that is fuel maintenance.
And then this chart here, one of the first ones you had,
Yeah.
which showed all the vehicles we currently have. I would say most of our deputy cruisers, those are the full-size sedans. There's 37.
We didn't profile the sheriffs in this.
They're not in this, okay.
No, sheriffs are different life cycle, different strategy than the rest of the fleet. Because of how they use vehicles and everything, they're on a different.
And the sheriff vehicles that we're using are Explorers, isn't that right, Suki?
Now,
Yeah.
but we still have some of the four-door out.
Sedans?
Yeah.
Yeah, so sheriff usually runs 3 years, 2 to 4 years in that time frame. So they're on a different.
That's how we hit 100,000.
Yeah.
Just do put some miles on it.
So with these, it's 5 years is generally based off the mileage, a good time.
So are you suggesting or offering sheriffs also, potentially, or not?
We can do that.
We have to decide that, with the sheriff.
Okay, sheriff has to decide. Yep.
We have to explain to them a little bit more. I mean, it would be nice to be able to have them do all the procurement and get it in here, but how we actually want to maintain it on a day-to-day basis.
That's an intriguing offer, or an option, I guess, for us. Not something we've looked at before, at least since I've been here for a few years, but it's something to consider further. And personally, I'd like to get rid of all of my cars at home and have you guys do this as well, so.
I would love to as well,
Yeah.
in a vehicle like this. I just
Yeah.
don't have the ability to tap into either infrastructure.
Yeah. So, great.
Any
Any other questions?
gentlemen?
Good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, at this point, we're going to take a short recess, and we'll be back momentarily. Okay, we are back from recess and Commissioners, we have in front of us the consent agenda, which we were provided the end of last week. I know we've all had a chance to review it. And if there are no questions or reasons to move an item for later discussions, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as shown on the agenda from September 13th, 2017.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as prepared.
Second.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. And flipping over to page 6 of the agenda, we have a non-consent agenda. Item 13 is to pay our bills, Resolution 138-17, in the amount of $1,180,508.82. Can we get a motion to pay our bills?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye?
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. And item 14. Paul, morning.
Good morning. Paul Brosh, Office of Environmental Quality. It's my recommendation that the board adopt a resolution to provide professional services with Turan Corporation for data management at Aber Road and the PUB well fields in conjunction with Duke's closure of the facility.
Okay. I know we're going to come back to this later and get more information, but at this point, can we get a motion then to approve, to execute the Second Amendment to the contract for professional services with the Turan Corporation as referenced in item 14?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. Thanks, Paul. Item 15. Morning, Lyle.
Morning.
Lyle Bloom, Director with the Clermont County Water Resources Department. Item 15 is a recommendation to adopt Resolution Number 139-17, resolving first to accept, approve, and ratify the detailed plans, specifications, estimates of cost and financing, and tentative assessments for proposed improvements to the county waterworks system within the Clermont County Water Resources Department. And this is designated as project number 6401-60091 and described as the construction of the Rancho Lane Water Petition Project located in Union Township. And second, to determine that special assessments are to be levied and collected to pay a portion of the costs of the project in the form of a basic benefit assessment and an improvement assessment as outlined in Exhibit B, or general obligation notes or bonds issued in anticipation thereof, and with a portion of the cost paid as a contribution by the Clermont County Water Resources Department's Waterworks System Capital Improvement Fund, and this is pursuant to and in compliance with Chapter 6103 of the Ohio Revised Code. So this project consists of construction of about 727 feet of 6-inch water line just to benefit 7 properties on Rancho Lane and Union Township.
Okay. Can we get a motion then to approve Resolution 139-17 as referenced in item 15?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye?
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. 16?
Item 16 is also related to the Rancho Lane project, and it's a recommendation to adopt Resolution Number 140-17, resolving to declare the necessity to construct improvements to the Clermont County Waterworks System. This is for the construction, maintaining, and operating the Rancho Lane Water Petition Project located in Union Township, and is more particularly described in the detailed plans, specifications, estimates of cost and financing, and tentative assessments, which were on file in the Office of the Clermont County Water Resources Department, located at 4400 Haskell Lane in Batavia, where they may be examined by all persons interested, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place a legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation for 2 consecutive weeks, beginning on September 21st, 2017, to publish the date, time, and place designated by the Board of County Commissioners, where endorsements of and or objections to the construction of the and financing of the aforesaid proposed improvements will be heard pursuant to and in compliance with Chapter 6103 of the Ohio Revised Code. And the public hearing is scheduled to be held at 11 o'clock a.m. local time on Wednesday, October 25th, 2017, here in the Office of the Board of County Commissioners, 101 East Main Street, Batavia. And this notice will also be posted on the county's website. So there'll be an assessment for this project. We had a public involvement meeting about a year ago, September 27th, 2016, with the residents to get some feedback from them. There was 7 properties proposed to be assessed. 5 were in support, 2 were opposed at that time. So in May of this year, we added the Rancho Lane project to our capital improvement plan, and then we began the design of that, and we designed the water main extension in-house. The total assessment for each property is currently estimated, and this includes system capacity fees and meter and installation fees, is estimated at $12,530.38. And if the project moves forward and they choose to have that assessed, that would be assessed over a 20-year period. Those are estimated costs. Of course, actual costs could vary based on actual construction costs.
Okay. And I'll entertain a motion then for Resolution 140-17 as referenced in item 16.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. Thanks, Lau.
All right, thank you.
And good morning.
Morning.
I'm Gerald Bryant with the Juvenile Court. We have a recommendation from myself, Director of Court Services, Clermont County Juvenile Court, with the concurrence of Tom Eigel, Interim County Administrator, to execute an Ohio Department of Youth Services capital project proposal for funding for the complete upgrade of the electronic security system at the Clermont County Juvenile Detention Center, identified as the Electronic Control Replacement Project, at an estimated cost of $400,000. The actual percentage of the Ohio Department of Youth Services capital funds available for participation therein to be based primarily upon a formula rather than the actual total project cost, pursuant to and in compliance with the stated terms and conditions as required therefore. What we're allowed to do is every 2 years with the Ohio Department of Youth Services is apply for capital funds for detention centers. Primarily, they use it to build new detention centers or add beds to the facility, but we're applying for it for this electronic control system, which controls our cameras, our door locks, our intercom system. We put that system in with the new facility back in 2004. It's a proprietary system. If it breaks, we do not have anyone that we can really turn to fix that system. So the hope is that we, with this estimated cost of $400,000, that DYS will give us anywhere between 0 and 60% to pay for that cost. We prefer the 60% over the 0%, but it just depends on how much funds are available in the budget.
So 0 to 60% of the $400,000 number.
Correct.
Estimated.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we get a motion then to execute an Ohio Department of Youth Services capital project proposal for funding as referenced in item 17?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Pena?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. Thanks, Joe. Yeah. Morning again, Suki.
In 3 seconds.
You
3
don't,
seconds, that's easy to appropriate,
you
too.
don't think they use that for effect, is it?
All right, we do have a couple supplemental appropriations this week. First, in the Sheriff's Road Patrol other expenses, $1,437.93. This was a donation that was received by the county back in 2014, so we're going to appropriate some of this money because it's restricted for canine purposes, and they are going to buy a vest for the canine. Then we have in juvenile court special projects, both their regular salaries and their fringe benefits, additional money of $7,500 and $1,300 respectively. This is for added hours on a part-time person that the court's using special project funds to cover. And finally, in the juvenile Title 1D fund, other expenses, $26,500. That is actually to repay in advance.
Did I hear you say that the K-9 monies is to be used for a vest?
Canine vest. That's what they say.
Good, very good. Those dogs
Got to
are,
protect him.
those dogs are very
That's
important.
bulletproof as opposed to a life vest.
Okay, great. Okay, can we get a motion then to approve the supplemental appropriations as referenced in item 18?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Huber?
Yes. Morning, Yvonne.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yvonne Smith, Benefit Plan Coordinator for Clermont County. It is my recommendation as the Benefits Coordinator and the county's Healthcare Advisory Committee, along with Horan Associates, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eigel, Interim County Administrator, to resolve to accept the 2018 vendor recommendations presented to the board by Horan on 9/6 of 2017, as listed below, and to acknowledge the renewals of the listed carriers for 2018, effective January 1st, 2018 through December 31st of 2018. 2, to authorize the benefits coordinator to obtain new agreements as noted for the reference services for submittal to the Board of County Commissioners for ratification therefore. And 3, to establish the cafeteria plan reflecting the 2018 benefit costs and plans, as well as the 2018 benefit credits relative therefore thereto, as listed in the agenda, in the printed agenda, and to schedule the 2018 health insurance open enrollment period therefore.
You're asking an awful lot of us here.
I know, I'm putting you to work. I just want to mention that in the recommendations, we had recommended the HSA be directed to Park National, but there were questions during the presentation about the
investment.
Opportunities with another vendor. So we did look into that somewhat. We feel that we're going to need some additional time to review the options that are out there, and a recommendation for HSA and also for the EAP will be coming in the coming weeks.
You know, Yvonne, we didn't talk about it, but could you, I know when you went to the other option we talked about, other than Park National, to manage the HSA accounts, there's a cost to that monthly, where with
Correct.
Park there is not a cost. Could you allow people to go either way? So if they want to use their HSA for investments, they could pay the monthly fee and go to the other vendor, or they could keep it at Park, which is free. Or is that a problem to go both ways?
I did mention that to the auditor's office to find out if that was something that we could do within the system. And much of that depends upon how the billing is handled within each vendor. So Park National handles it as a bank routing number, and Shard Snyder handles it more like on a spreadsheet type of thing. So because they are different, it would cause confusion within the Munis system.
We can't do it with Munis, basically.
Yeah, well, I guess you could do it one way or the other within Munis, but not both ways, is my understanding. And it could possibly be done, but it would take a lot of finagling, I believe, to get that done. Also, Horan did not recommend using 2 vendors, so, and I'm unsure of that. But since the time that I made the presentation, that Horan made the original presentation, we have secured some more information from a financial planning company, and also there was an article printed in the Cincinnati Enquirer about the investment. What I will say is the only company that we looked at was Shard Snyder for the investment. There are other companies out there. So the advisory committee felt that it was something that we should continue to look at, but that probably table it until next year. The other advantage to tabling it till next year is if we did go with the Shard Snyder, our FSA contract is up next year, and there's a possibility we could bundle it together and maybe save on both plans. So that probably is going to be the recommendation, that we table it until next year.
Yeah, I think reviewing it further, I mean, you may even find that a Vanguard or a Fidelity may allow this free of charge.
Yes, there are several, in the article that I received this morning, there are several companies listed that do not charge. The other thing that the article raised is the fact that there could be other fees associated with that we were not informed
fees.
about. Investment fees, exactly.
That article was very good.
Yes.
In the paper.
Yeah. So it's not something that we're putting away. It's something that we probably should do more homework on before we make a recommendation to change.
And not to put anybody on the spot, of having two different, Mr. Tilbury, you happen to be here. Is that a possibility that the auditor's office can make that differentiation between the two?
I'm sure it is. It's always better to have one provider in any system, but I have not spoken to HR regarding that. It's been another staff in our office, but it's hard for me to believe that we can't manipulate that. We can't produce the required reports on a monthly basis, on a pay period basis.
Okay. All right.
I won't make a promise, but it's hard for me to believe.
He'll make a promise and he's going to retire. Watch. So we can't find
You'll say,
him.
you know what? We're going to do that 5 days later. Thanks, Siobhan.
Okay, then can we get a motion then to accept the 2018 vendor recommendations and to acknowledge the renewal of the listed carriers for 2018. Secondly, to authorize the benefits coordinator to obtain new agreements. Third, to establish a cafeteria plan reflecting the 2018 plans and costs. And finally, to schedule the 2018 health insurance open enrollment period as referenced in item 19, sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mr. Payne.
Yes.
Commissioner Ubel, if I may, does that motion include the HSA to Park National, or are we tabling that for next year, or are we tabling it for 2 weeks from now?
I'd say we're going to table it to next year, but it doesn't reference it in the,
It sounds like Chuck says we may table it for 2 weeks.
Okay, so we'll be coming back with that recommendation, but that's not part of this motion?
To come back with a motion for the HSA and the EAP.
Okay.
We don't have the renewal costs for the EAP yet, so I just
So that was,
thought that I would do them both at the same time.
That was what I heard.
thank you, though.
Okay.
so I guess we made a motion in reference to item 19, but in 19, it doesn't say it. Do we want
Yeah,
to?
it's not in the list of vendors, so we're okay. I just wanted to make sure we didn't add that.
Gotcha.
So we'll be getting
To be
additional
clear, it's
information.
not in the list
Correct.
of vendors, and we're going to hear about that.
Yep, at a later time, yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Yvonne. I didn't realize that we've got the rest of the item 18 here on pages 10 and 11, so. Okay, we've got a handful of add-ons. The first, Paul Brosh, do you want to take that one?
Thank you very much. It's my recommendation, with concurrence of Lyle Bloom, Director of Utilities, to approve a request to extend the expiration date for disposition of proposals that we received for the Laboratory Information Management System on July 20th, to extend it for 71 days until September 20th till November 30th, 2017. To provide us a little bit additional time to negotiate and review the proposals that we have.
It's actually Tuesday, September 19th. That is the 61st day, but it is through November 30th.
Okay. Good. Can we get a motion then to approve the request to extend the expiration date for the disposition of proposals relative to the Water Resource Laboratory Information Management System to November 30th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Payne.
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey.
Aye.
Mr. Ubel.
Yes. And Craig? Knew you were here.
Morning.
Craig Reisner, Deputy Surveyor, Clermont County Engineer's Office. A recommendation of Patrick J. Munger, County Engineer, with the concurrence of Thomas J. Eigel, Interim County Administrator, to accept the following permanent and temporary easements heretofore granted and conveyed to the County of Clermont for roadway purposes necessary for project number BA 1616. This is relative to the Chapel Woods Drive Bridge Project. It's a replacement. It's bridge number T2195 0.30. It's located within Batavia Township. To further authorize payment for compensation for permanent and temporary easements and right-of-way granted thereby and repairs relative thereto, and to further authorize the execution of plats of easements. So we have 3 property owners, 4 different lots, and we'll be executing replats instead of granting recorded easements. It's a little bit different than usual, but this will authorize execution of the replat and payment for permanent, temporary, and repairs.
We get a motion then to accept the following permanent temporary easement for project number BA-16-16 as referenced in the table as outlined in the add-on.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. Thanks. Craig.
And there's a third add-on for Otter County Travel. Do you have it?
Got it?
Thank you.
Got it. Okay. Tom, you want to handle the treasurer's add-on?
This is a add-on for the Treasurer's Office for Jeannie Zermely and Rhonda Meager to travel to Worthington, Ohio for 1 day, and it's for the United American Capital Corporation training not to exceed $70.
We get a motion for the travel and training add-on as our as interim county administrator just read.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. Now, can we go into executive session? Is that right?
Yes,
Is
sir.
that? Okay. Just want to make sure I wasn't missing out on something else here. Okay, we have a need for executive session pursuant to section 121-22 G1, G2, and G3 of the Ohio Revised Code. First, to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of one or more public employees. Secondly, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes or the sale of property at competitive bidding. And third, to confer with the prosecuting attorney regarding pending or imminent litigation, respectively. Can we get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. We'll be right back. All right, we are back from the executive session. Decisions were made or votes taken. And while we were out, the minutes were prepared from today's session of September 13th, as well as we have the minutes from last night's special session from September 12th, when the CVB presented. And let's start by getting a motion then to accept the minutes from the special session of September 12th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. And the minutes from today's regular session, September 13th, 2017. We'll entertain a motion when one of you are ready to make one.
And is that included in the minutes currently before us or not? That we approve the other minutes? We'll need to include that.
Shishu and Holly will add that.
Okay, we'll need to include that, and with that addition, I would make a motion to approve the minutes of today's meeting.
With the inclusion of the motion to approve the special session minutes that were approved for 9/12 last evening at 7 o'clock, I second that motion, Mr. Humphrey.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye.
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Painter?
Yes.
Mr. Humphrey?
Mr. Humphrey?
Aye. Sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Hubel?
Yes. And without further ado, we will call this regular session over, and thanks for coming, and we'll see you next week.